And we're live on Book Chat Live. Woo!
All right. Hello.
And this week we have the amazing Joanne Flynn Black, who is, well, you are slightly an author. You're going to be an author even more when your solo book comes out in November.
Yeah.
So welcome to the show, Joanne. And
thank you.
Shall we go on to the books then? Are you ready to talk about
Yes, I'm ready. Yes.
Here we go. Shantaram by Gregory David Roberts.
Okay, so this is the only fiction book on my list, and I'm doing fiction in air quotes because it is fiction, and he says it's fiction, but there's a lot of things that are very similar to his life. And this book, I will say, I'll tell you when I listen to it on Audible, because I am very sensitive to voices. I will not listen to an Audible if I don't like their voice, or I'll listen to an Audible if I like their voice. And the voice on this is amazing. Like, you just feel like you are so in it. And he does so many different accents that you know who's who and all of that. And it's all done by one person. But the theme of the book, and this is where it, I would say, overlaps with the author's life. The person breaks out of a jail in Australia, and he skips over to India, and that is what happened in real life to the author, and also what happens in the book. But I'm in love with this book, and I've actually listened to it twice. It's so good, and it's very long. It's like 26 hours on Audible.
Oh, yes. Okay, so it's probably a wide book to read in general then.
It is, yes.
What especially, was it like just the whole escape challenge that appealed to you? Why did you really like the book?
It's really not about the escape, because it starts with him in India and his life in India, and then the escape kind of unfolds, and you know why he's there and why he's meeting all these people. But what I love about the book is that he has all these relationships and connections with these people that are, friends, and he lives in the slums for a little bit. And having traveled in India, I could see the people that he is talking to. Like, it's just very intense, very intense. I will caveat one thing, in that there's one scene where it's a little bit very intense. Let's just say that. But other than that one scene, I think it's amazing.
Okay, shall we go on to the next book, which is quite different? So,
yes, it is quite different.
Outlive by Peter Attia, and this has been recommended on the show before.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah. He's actually a doctor. It's Dr. Peter Attia, and again, I did listen to it on Audible, and he has the most amazing voice. But what he's talking about is in our lives about longevity. And not only I want to live to 120, but I want to live until as long as I can, but be healthy doing it, and have a healthy life, and beat what he calls like the 4 horsemen of, major diseases that you could get, and what we can do now to help avoid those things. And he goes through in such detail, and I just love everything about this book. I've also listened to this multiple times, because I really do love the message, and I do really like his voice. I sometimes wind up falling, not saying it's boring. I don't fall asleep to it, but I use it to fall asleep because it's very soothing.
Okay, so what were those 4 things? Or, I mean, don't give the whole book away, I suppose.
Yeah.
Read it. But
the 4 horsemen.
4.
Yeah, so heart failure, diabetes, brain cognition, Alzheimer, dementia type of thing, and cancer would be the 4.
And what have you done to start living to 110 after listening to this book then?
I'm moving more. I'm trying to move more. He talks a lot about, okay, what do you want to be doing when you're 70 or 80 or 90? And people say, well, I want to do this. And he kind of backtracks and says, well, if you want to do that, you need to be here now. And if you're not here now at this level, there's no way you're going to be there then. And so it really opened up, this light to me. Like, I don't have all the time in the world to get to that level. So I need to start now.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Are you ready to go into the next book?
Yes.
Right, here we go. Finished by Jon Acuff. So I don't know.
Okay.
Right. So
okay. I love this book. Okay. And he talks about, it's very easy to start something, right? We all start lots of different things. We all have these great ideas and we start all the things, but it's the finishing that makes it difficult, to actually get to the end. Like, it happened to me, and just writing and actually writing a book and just starting it was easy, but it's the finishing that's hard. I listened to it on Audible. He tells these amazing stories. You just kind of feel like he's, a lot of times I listened in the car, like he's sitting next to you, that he's this right there and he's your friend and he's just talking to you as a friend would talk to you and telling you stories.
So does it give advice about how to finish, or is it examples of people?
Yeah, it does. And I'll give you like one of his tips. He talks about writing, and as one example about finishing that book, actually. And he had a favorite candle. And he would only light that candle. It had some special scent. I forget what the scent was. Pumpkin spice, let's say. And he would only light that candle when he was writing. So it was almost like a treat for him to, okay, I'm lighting a candle and I'm going to write for the next half hour. And I just love that, like giving yourself just a little present for doing the thing that you're trying to finish.
Yeah. Okay. We shall go on to the next book. Right.
Yes.
Which is Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert. Her books have been on before, but not this one, I think.
Oh, okay. Right. And everyone knows Elizabeth Gilbert from the Eat, Pray, Love. But this book, it's about, its subtitle is Creative Living Without Fear. Yeah. And she talks about how we can live a creative life and put fear aside by doing it. And when she says lead a creative life, she doesn't mean, okay, I'm going to leave my job and I'm going to be an artist and I'm going to be the struggling artist. She talks about like reality. Like I needed to work up until my book was, multi-million-dollar seller. And then I stopped work. But, keep your day job, but do the creative thing that you want to do. And I love this one piece that she talks about fear, and that we have to have fear, right? If you didn't have fear, you'd put your hand in the fire and you'd burn yourself. But so sometimes fear is good. And she talks about fear as if it's a person. And she says, imagine taking a road trip and fear is coming along, and you say to fear, hey, you're in the back seat. You cannot touch the radio. You can't talk, and no way are you driving. Okay, but you're going to come along, and it just gave me, it made me think about, this whole concept of, being out there without fear, but we need to have fear, and fear isn't always a bad thing, but you need to be able to kind of put it in the backseat.
Yeah, I think that life is a lot about learning to manage fear rather than just avoiding it, isn't it?
Right, exactly.
Okay, shall we go to the next book? which is Purpose, Design a Community and Change Your Life by Gina Bianchini.
Bianchini.
Yes.
Yes. So Gina is the CEO of Mighty Networks, which is an online platform, something that I have my own community, and I'm actually a community strategy and builder. So on Mighty Networks. So I love the fact that she wrote a book, and she is, when you think about Silicon Valley, where she's from, it's kind of like old boys network, but she kind of bounced in there and really commanded her presence to be, in Silicon Valley, creating a tech company and watching it thrive. So, and being there to help it thrive, actually. So I love this book by Gina. It just really helps people understand about, why community matters and why now, and all of the things about community.
So did you learn any community building tips from this book, or is it more just general kind of community concepts?
Yeah. I mean, even, as a community builder, I even learned, about, people and bringing people together and kind of the magic of Mighty Networks. And I just think anyone who's considering building community or looking at Mighty Networks or any platform really, but specifically Mighty Networks because she's so amazing, to check this out.
Okay. Well, I won't put this in the clip for this book, but for people who are watching and thinking, what on earth is Mighty Networks? What is Mighty Networks?
Oh, okay. So Mighty Networks is an online platform to build your community. So let's say you wanted to have a community of all people talking about books, right? Which you could. And you don't want to have it on LinkedIn or Facebook group. You build your own community. You don't have any privacy issues like they have at Facebook, or any distractions like, oh, my aunt just posted a cat video. I'm going to go over there. It's your own community.
Oh, okay. Right. Well, on that note, shall we go to the next book? Which
yes.
An Irreverent Curiosity by David Farley. So, why did you pick this book?
An Irreverent Curiosity by David Farley. Yeah. Not irrelevant. It's irreverent.
Irreverent Curiosity.
Yes. So the subtitle is In Search of Church's Strangest Relic in Italy, and Italy's oldest town. David Farley was one of my first writing teacher. And yes. And so I got this book right when he released it. And I love this book. I'm not going to tell you what the Church's Strangest Relic is. You're going to need to read the book. But he kind of takes us on this journey of being in Italy and trying to find some information about this relic, and it got all the way up to the Pope, and how people reacted to it, and you just feel like you're going along with him to find this. So I love this book, and I think it's really a fun read.
Yeah. Okay. I'm not sure what more I can say about that. It's like, I remember one of these shows I went off on a long tangent talking about Venice with one of the guests who had a book about Venice, but
nice.
Probably should stick to the book list. So next one.
Yes.
It is The Secrets of Simplicity by Mary Carlomagno.
Yes, I wish I should have brought the book to show you on this one, because it is so beautiful. It's done in a kind of a spiral bound, larger size book. And it's all about living simply, and like what we could do. We just have lots of things, and physical things and emotional things, and she talks about how to live kind of in this simplicity. And she had an amazing illustrator who I sometimes I just literally just page through the book just to look at the illustrations because they're so beautiful, and I really love this book.
Yeah. So what is it actually about then, the book? Is it
Yeah, it's all about like living simply, how you get to the point of how you live in a certain way to, and how you get there, like kind of tips and tricks on how to get your life to a point where it is kind of the simplicity.
Okay. Right.
Yeah.
I think the next book's probably not quite so about simplicity, but more about something else. So here we go. Side Hustle by Chris Gilbert. I should know his name.
Guillebeau.
Guillebeau. So why this?
Yeah.
book?
So okay, I need to give a lot of props to Chris because I do think that this book, and he specifically, helped kind of mold a little bit about where I was going with my life. And I remember, listening to this book, and while I was driving up to Phoenicia, New York from New Jersey to help figure out or take care of my Airbnb. So I have a small little cabin up there that I put on Airbnb, and having this understanding in the side hustle, it was like, how do you take that to the next level? Okay, that you have an Airbnb, that's a side hustle, but maybe there's a side hustle plus, and the idea that I got from this was, why don't I teach others how to get on Airbnb and host on Airbnb? Because anytime I mentioned, I was at a cocktail party and I mentioned, I have a cabin on Airbnb, people had 20 questions, and I just thought, well, if they have, I know what the questions are, why don't I go out and teach this? So it led me to going on like a seminar and talking about it and teaching a few others and co-hosting. And it just really expanded my mind about how you make extra money. You have your job, but then you kind of make extra money doing something else.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I didn't know you were an Airbnb host expert, but you seem to be now. So that's good. Right. Shall we go on to the next book?
Yes.
Wonder Woman by Beth Santos. Not Wonder Woman, but Wonder Woman. So
yeah. So okay, and the subtitle of this is How to Reclaim Your Space, Find Your Voice, and Travel the World Solo. So Beth is the founder of a group called Wonderful. And the idea behind Wonderful is that you might be traveling. Let's say you're in Venice and you say, hey, is anyone here who lives here or is traveling here that would want to meet up for a cup of coffee? And then people would be like, I'm in Venice right now. Then why don't you meet me down the road? And there's a group that's I think she just got like 600,000 members or something. It's just this amazing thing. And then she wrote this book. And I take it, I like to go out solo. I find myself just saying, I feel like going out to dinner, and I just go by myself and I bring that book. And it's almost like I'm here alone because I want to be, not because I don't have any friends or, maybe my friends are busy or whatever, but I want to be by myself. I want to take the moment to be like in silence and maybe read. And it's funny because when I bring that book, which is often, it will spark conversation. So it's like an anti being alone. People say, oh, tell me about that book. And, and then I launch into this whole thing about Beth. So I'm still reading it actually, because every time I bring it out with me to a place, I don't get to finish it. But I do love this book, and I love what she's about.
Well, I suppose she's probably. Hopefully, she hasn't just photocopied the second half of the book as the first half, and you'll actually find out that it's wonderful at the ending as at the beginning. Okay.
Exactly.
Right, let's get on to the next one. How to Be a Travel Writer by Don George. So, actually, on the Amazon, it says Lonely Planet, How to Be a Travel Writer, but I don't know what I put this.
Yeah, no, it is Don George from the Lonely Planet. So Don George, he was the global editor of The Lonely Planet, and which is a guidebook for traveling. And back when I traveled, and even now, I sometimes buy it, but back in the day, there wasn't, a Yelp that you looked up, what's the best restaurant to go to, or what's the nicest hotel. You basically looked at The Lonely Planet, and that's what I did. And I, follow their recommendations and use their maps to get around. And I lived by The Lonely Planet. So he wrote a book, How to Be a Travel Writer, which also, I am a travel writer. Yeah. I've written some things about that. And it's just a lot of tips and tricks of, that he's learned all these years of being a travel writer himself.
Yeah, because I've had the rant at people before, but it's actually a lot harder to write about travel than people think. It's actually harder to talk about travel because it's so easy to end up in this like laundry list of like, I went to Venice, I went to the Grand thing, I went to Florence, I went to this, and to actually write well about travel is quite a lot harder. You need stories and things in the book to make it more than just a laundry list of like, I went here. It doesn't matter if you went to meet the Pope. If you just say, I went to meet the Pope in the Vatican, it's like, well, why and what was
and
that?
What?
So, I think travel writing is an art, I guess.
I agree. And one of the things he talks about is, using all of your senses. When you went there, when you were at the Vatican, what did it smell like? You're not only just using your sight, but what did you hear? Oh, I heard some chimes in the background or whatever. And you really kind of put yourself in that place, and you help your readers as well.
Okay. Right. This next book, you put yourself as one of the authors. Now, this is where I'm...
Yes.
Because this is a book that somebody wrote, and I think you're a chapter in it, aren't you? I think that's kind of like...
Yes. So it's a multi-author book. So it's
so I put...
every...
Yeah. Heart-Centered Marketing by Deborah Givin, and plus others, which include you, but she's kind of the editor of it. So anyway, I interrupted you midstream there. So
no, that's okay.
Restate what you
said. Yeah, so it's amazing. It's an amazing book, not only because I'm in it, but it's I think about 31 other women who have marketed themselves and how they did it, and you really get a lot of real life examples of what worked for others, to just kind of get out there, because, we don't want to think of ourselves as marketing ourselves, but anything you want to do, right? If you're going to write a book or you're going to start a company, right? You need to tell people about it. And it just helps you not be like flashy kind of marketing that you don't feel connected with, but it's a heart-centered marketing that you feel connected and spreading the word because there's someone who's out there who needs your services or wants to read your book.
Yeah. So did you, I'm saying you gave a chapter. I know there's like a lot of contributors to this book. Did you write a chapter or were you interviewed for the book? How did the process work doing that?
Yeah, I wrote a chapter. So, my chapter was about kind of word of mouth
Yeah.
almost, and word of mouth marketing, and also, networking, but not networking in the negative sense of, oh, I'm going to go to this event and I'm going to shake all these hands and I'm
Yeah.
going to talk about myself, but actually a group that I'm part of is called Virtual Networkers, and it's everyone is that who's there is really looking not only to help themselves but looking to help you as a person. Oh, I know someone. Oh, you need Mighty Networks. Oh,
Yeah.
I know someone who does Mighty Networks, right? Oh,
Yeah.
you need this. I know someone who does tapping. It's just an amazing, so most of my clients are coming either from networking, from something like that virtual networker, or word of mouth. People say, oh, I heard that Joanne is doing something about writing networks. Why don't
Yeah.
you talk to her? So it's don't forget about those things, because it's really important. It's really important.
And well, hopefully you read all the other chapters of the book when it came out. I don't know if that's true or not.
Yeah.
But did you learn any, did any of the other people's chapters appeal to you and stuck in your memory after you read the book?
Yeah. It's a great group of women, and they not only talk about what worked for them, but also like how you can make it work for you. Maybe there's a chapter on email marketing.
Yeah.
Is one thing that stuck out, and it's like, okay, this is how you make it work for you. I made it work for me, but you can make it work for you like this.
Okay. Right. So those are all the books that are actually out in the wild at the moment, but I have one more, which I'm just going to edit actually, and say it's out on the 11th of November, I believe.
Yes, 11/11.
Right. And it's In Motion Around the World in Love and Heartbreak. Out 11 November. Oh, well, I'll leave 11. I think people know that.
Yeah.
So this is by you, obviously. I should have put by Joanne.
By me, yeah.
Black on it. But so talk about your process to writing this book and what this book is about, because it's an interesting story, isn't it?
Yes. So it's a travel memoir, and it's kind of something about my life. And it starts where I'm in San Francisco. I reached the top of, I worked for the Deloitte, not the top, but almost the top. But I was at Deloitte, and I was being promoted, and the next step would have been the top. And I just thought to myself, do I want to make it to the next step, or do I want to take time off and go travel around the world? Because I didn't have a chance to do that, around college. People do that now, but back in the day, they didn't do that. And so it's a story of, making that decision. And then there was a second decision, which was I was kind of falling in love with someone right at the time that I was planning on leaving. And I just have to make a decision about whether I want to invite him or not invite him to come with me.
And I think, not meaning to give spoilers away, I think he did come with you, didn't he? So you ended up on this worldwide journey with a man you barely know, and I'm guessing that is part of the story of the book, I guess. How long did you actually travel? How long were you traveling together for? Was it a year, or was it less than a year?
It was about half a year, but I also that we traveled together. But I also did a trip before with a friend, and after I went to visit family, and so all together it was about a year. But we were together for about half of that time.
And this was before, well, not before the internet, but before the internet was a big thing, wasn't it? This is, as you say, guidebooks were a thing in those days.
Yeah, we had flip phones that didn't really have the internet, did not have Google Maps.
Yeah,
So we had to walk, when we walked, we had to look at a map, the map.
yeah,
Usually we looked at Had the Lonely Planet because it had a map of where we were. And we had to stumble around and talk to people and say, where is that's how we found our way.
yeah,
But I kind of like that. I know that like some people are like, oh, I wish, there was Google Maps when you were traveling. But honestly, I kind of like that we just found things that
yeah.
maybe were unexpected.
Yeah, there's a lot
Yeah.
to be said for getting lost in a place, but not really getting lost. I mean, it's like just
Right.
like somewhere where
Right.
you can like, because you find like some cities like Rome, you can get lost and find some amazing like architecture or something. Like
Right.
a lot of these
Yeah.
older cities have just things that they're not in the top 10, but they were anywhere else they'd be amazing. So getting lost can be quite a good thing in a city, really.
I agree. I agree.
Okay, so I don't know if you've watched any of these shows before, but I generally ask people two questions. One
Okay.
started out as a simple question, but it's now become complicated. So I'll ask you the complicated question.
Okay.
If you met somebody for the first time and you could only recommend one of these books to them, what would be your thought processes and flow chart to deciding what sort of questions you would ask them in terms of which book to pick? That makes sense. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, I'd ask them first if they like to travel.
Yeah.
And that was something, or they like to travel or read about people traveling. Because if they didn't, then I would,
I think it's really hard.
remove a whole
Yeah.
bunch
Yeah.
and I'd only be left with a few. And so I would ask that first, and that would help inform me. And then so if they said yes, I would ask, did they want to write about travel or not, and that would then inform me. It would get a little bit closer. And I would ask, also, if they had their own kind of business and wanted to learn anything about business, 'cause that would help inform some things. And of course, I'd ask if they wanted to read my story
Yeah.
because then I know I would recommend mine.
Yeah. Okay. And the other question I ask is, funnily enough, your first proper solo book's coming out on November the 11th, as we said, like before.
Yeah.
But beyond that, have you got more plans for more books about anything? Like, have you got another travel memoir coming out in your mind that you're going to write after this, or what's next in your writing ambitions, so to speak?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the first thing would be to actually release my book, which, as you said, is 11/11. And the thing that I think about, once the book is out there in the world, is to get on other podcasts and panels about travel or panels about writing, and try to promote the book and get it out in as many hands as possible, is like the thing I think of when, after 11/11, is like, that is the big thing for me. I don't have any other book in the works. Every once in a while I think of a story, or I think of something, and I'm like, oh, that could be part of a book. Whether it's I'm not a fiction writer. I've never written fiction in my entire life. I always write about experience I've had, but I kind of like the idea of being able to build that into a fiction story. And maybe some things are true and they happened, and some things are fiction, a little bit like Shantaram in a way, by Gregory David Roberts. I just have that as in the back of my mind.
Okay, well, I've managed to use the ticker thing, which I haven't used for a while, at the bottom, to put the thing to remind everybody it's out on the November the 11th.
Yes.
If you had to pick one of the places you went on, one of the places you went on that trip to write a fiction novel in, what would you think what is the most kind of scenic place you went to on that trip around the world? If you had to set a novel in.
You know, I honestly would write about India.
Oh, okay.
Because, it was the most vibrant, energizing type of energizing part of the trip. So many things happened when we were in India, and just met so many people, and just people from different walks of life, and even got invited to come back for an Indian wedding, which unfortunately couldn't make it. But just so much, there's so much there. I mean, you'll even see probably the amount of chapters in India is a little bit disproportionate in the book. However, we were there for 2 months. Yeah. So the fact that we stayed there longer, I did have more stories.
Okay. Well, thanks so much for being the guest today on the show. And thanks for people watching on Amazon. And thanks in the future for anybody watching on YouTube or listening on the podcast on Apple. I'm trying to remember everyone. Oh, thanks to anybody who's watching on LinkedIn who I've forgotten about. So, and thanks so much again for being the guest today, Joanne.
Yeah, this was so much fun. And like I said, I love talking about books. So this was the perfect thing for me. So thank you. It's been great to talk with you.
Totally forgot to ask, how can people get in touch with you if they want to talk about your book or even Mighty Networks? So
yeah, they could. I'm on LinkedIn. They could find me there. I don't think there's any other Joanne Flynn Black, so you can find me on LinkedIn and shoot me a message there.
Okay. Well, again, thank you for being on the show, and I'm gonna start pressing buttons too. And thanks for the people watching. So thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.